Hi, I'm Michelle Kovacevic and I'm YPARD Global Mentoring Coordinator.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I'm YPARD Philippines Country Representative.
Thanks, Jim. And here today we're talking about building a mentoring program team. And Jim is the country representative in the Philippines who's at the moment running a face-to-face mentoring program. So Jim, can you tell us a bit about how you determined what the major areas of work were around the mentoring program, and how did you figure out who you needed to bring on to the team to get those bits of work done?
Well, to be honest, when we had the decision finalized that we'd be running a mentoring program, it was kind of like really hard to like grasp the strings and like what needed to be done. But we just kind of like started off with gut feel, what based on like previous events that we've organized. What are the basic things that you'd need, of course. So from the agreement that we had with the global coordinating unit, we said that of course we need a mentoring coordinator to run things, and the second one is we need an admin person, somebody who could do the paperwork, who could run things, get this printed, get this done, get all these things. So it's more of like the nitty gritty of things, of all these paperwork and preparations. So on paper, it would look like we had a mentoring coordinator, and I'm the program manager that stood in, and we have an admin person. But we also work with other YPARD Philippines members who contributed their time as logistics people or finance people who helped us out with the arranging the financial matters, paperwork, the forms, and the reimbursements, and all these things that need to get the bread cooked, or and all that, or baked, and all those things. So the tasks really were just the basic ones: the admin, logistics, finance, and promotions was done by mostly me and the mentoring coordinator. Even the design of the publicity materials, I started off with one design, and then Maggie, who is the mentoring coordinator, also kind of like placed her inputs, and we threw the design back and forth before we said, this is it. So all those small things, yeah, we just kind of like, okay, in this phase, these are the tasks that need to be done. So who can fill in the shoes, So Jo Marie, who's our admin person, would actually help out. Okay, I could do this and that. Our finance person from YPARD Philippines said that, okay, I'll help out and create the forms that are needed for the disbursements, the reimbursements, and tracking he really made sure that there was a way to track the expenses and the budgets that were allocated for each component of the proposal, the signed proposal, agreement. So yeah, it was more of, it's important to be flexible and really see and just be proactive be proactive in finding what needs to be done. Because you can't say that, okay, this is what we need to do, and then you stick to that alone, because the context can change and the situation can change anytime. So you really have to be able to adapt quickly and be flexible with all of that.
Yeah, wow, that sounds really, really great approach. And you sort of now have answered the second question I had, which was what roles were there or are there in the YPARD Philippines mentoring team? So maybe just to summarize, you said administrative, financial, there's a mentoring coordinator, program sort of manager. Yeah. Was there any other roles that you discovered?
Well, we created our participatory and monitoring evaluation team. So they're working with us, and we're working on that as well to see how the PME team could also support the mentoring coordinator in follow-up activities and all of that. So we have 3 people who have dedicated their time also to volunteer for that. During the culmination night of the orientation workshop, we actually created an ad hoc committee it was a mix and match of people we got from our previous musical production. We got people, some of our friends who play music to work with us so that we can culminating night event for the orientation workshop. So yeah, we had that, and we had people to do the program, to people to we got people to host from the International Rice Research Institute. um, yeah, and we got some performers. So it was basically the committee already who ran that, and I gave them the free will to decide on how the program would go, and just run the program by us and see if it fits well into the timing, if it fits well with our objectives and all of that. So yeah.
Sounds like, yeah, capitalizing on the community that's there and willing to help was really important, which is, yeah, a really great lesson, I think, and a great story. So obviously, Jim, there was a team building process that happened once you'd identified all the roles and tasks, and who was going to be helping to take those on. Can you tell us a little bit about what you thought was crucial in getting the team to work well together?
So yeah, we had a leveling off at the start, and it was a good meeting. First Skype call with Michelle and the team together in one room, and we kind of just like introduced each other, and we kind of like got to know how we normally work, what things were unclear about the mentoring program. We were also clear about our roles and time commitment and all of that. So it's really kind of like before you drive the car, you kind of like you want to make sure that everything's in good condition and they're ready to run together well. The things are fitting together. So yeah, we also had a series of meetings, and it helps, the small things like you eat out together and discuss those kind of small things help build that kind of relationship. So it's not just all about work. You're also you have that kind of like chill and very informal setup. You don't have to be Robert's rules of order all the time, with how you run a meeting. You just have an agenda, and you can have free flowing discussion on how things can be going. And it's kind of like also building that environment or atmosphere where people can contribute their ideas, and no one has there's no wrong idea. We can consider everything, and we can work with something, and together. So that it wasn't a really kind of like dedicated time, like we set one day to do a team building. It was kind of like a series of small meetings and just discussions that actually became a process of team building for the mentoring program. So I think it would also depend on how the dynamics of, like, let's say for example, a different country chapter of YPARD, if they have a different dynamics. Ours is kind of like really embedded with our culture that we like to eat. So we kind of like placed it in that kind of environment where it's easy to discuss, and it's easy to be open and all of that when you're in a setting where there's food, you're eating, you're exchanging ideas. So yeah.
I love that. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And lastly, on the team side of things, what advice do you have for other country representatives from YPARD, or even just other organisations who might be, who are considering building a mentoring program team? Is there any tips you would give them about how you would have done things a bit differently, or?
Well, we've been, I would say that we started meeting up with the team since September of 2017, and the work kind of like really built up, and it became a bit more stressful when it got to January, all that time. So it's really important to have that certain level of respect for each other, and that you have to be patient with one another, because in the midst of all the stress, you could easily snap. And if you do snap, it could actually cost the program or even the dynamics of the team, which could, you don't want to put that unnecessary tension, or unnecessary stress. If there is, there will be times where the stress will come in because of the deadlines, the logistics that need to be accomplished. But you have to be aware that you want to keep that level of respect, and you have that patience even for yourself and for those around you. That there are there are things that are not within your control, you know like you need to withdraw money, but the bank's closed because there's a holiday. So you have to think 3, 4, 5 steps ahead already, um, especially with all the things that you need to do. And so with the program team, you just need to be aware that, especially in the context of YPARD, where we're mostly a volunteer, we do things voluntarily. um, we want to be considerate of other people's personal life, that they also have their work life, they have their personal life. So you don't want to be too pushy when you're, and I've been trying to be as patient as possible with people, and see that I can't be too bossy, and I it won't bring out the how do you say this, the expected outcomes as you would hope for if you were too pushy. So
Mm.
yeah, I think it's important to also consider the group dynamics. And sometimes if you're the person leading the team, you'd actually see that there are some there might be some tension with like two people who might have different contrasting ideas. You have to be sure that you're still objective, and you want to neutralize that and say, okay, the common ground is, and the common solution is, and bring them to the common ground and say that our objective together is to actually run this program, and we have this program to do this and that. So you don't want people to bring in their accomplishments, their achievements, and kind of like say, I'm good at this, and then, you're not good at this because I'm good at this. So you want to say that what can we contribute so that we can bring this program forward. So
Very wise
something to think
words.
about.
Thanks so much.